Hello, I'm Joseph Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony. I hope you are enjoying our DMSO at Home series. Nothing will ever replace live music, but it is our goal to stay in touch virtually as we all practice social distancing for the greater good. My contribution to DMSO at Home is to give you a glimpse into my personal process of selecting, studying, and connecting with music. It's not uncommon that symphony patrons inquire about these subjects. How do I conduct an entire symphony without music? How do I put together a program? How do I discover new pieces or keep old pieces feeling fresh and vital? I confess to a feeling of vulnerability as I discuss my discoveries and impressions in such an open forum. But hopefully these videos will bring you some enjoyment and remind you that you are a member of our symphony family while we are apart. There are so many academic resources to learn about music and experts whose knowledge of individual composers, styles, and history far outpace mine. I want to stress that these videos are merely my own personal impressions. They're not intended to serve as an online classroom, but rather their goal is to inspire you to listen to some music during these troubled times. Now, on to the music. This week, I listened to all 11 symphonies of the great Austrian composer Anton Bruckner. In the spirit of full disclosure, I don't consider myself a Brucknerite. I have left much of his music for other conductors to interpret and to perform. Although I've studied all of his symphonies over the past 4 decades, I've only conducted his 4th symphony. As I prepare for the project, I discovered these symphonies total 700 minutes. That's over 11 and a half hours of listening. Needless to say, that's a lot of Bruckner. I was surprised that so much of his music transported me to a very celestial place. His distant tremolos seemed to come from nowhere. His music was ghostly and majestic and spiritual, terrifying and awe-inspiring, all within a matter of minutes. And his overwhelming command of sound and dynamics was unlike any musical experience I have ever had. He created these new and monumental achievements in a way that captured the intensity of Beethoven and the drama of Wagner. However, his genius was profoundly different than either of these composers. These symphonies are the mirror image of Bruckner himself. Allow me to explain. The music of his youth at the Catholic Church, including what he sang as a choir boy, made a lasting impression. As a young boy, he was drawn to the sound of the organ, where he found great success that was denied him as a composer. His daily practice and determination paid big dividends when he was appointed, at only 24 years old, organist at St. Florian's Monastery in northern Austria. There he composed daily motets, dances, and anything else that was needed for the community. The seed was planted for his unorthodox compositional method. Take a look at this score page from Beethoven's 9th Symphony, written in 1824. At the top, the woodwinds, horns, and trumpets are playing harmonic pulses. The strings add variety and rhythmic vitality, while the choir soars above the orchestra in the famous Ode to Joy theme. Now, take a look at Gustav Mahler's 5th Symphony, written in 1902, which we happen to be playing next season. At first glance, you will notice how much larger the orchestra is, and therefore how much more complex the orchestration is. There's more instructions on the page, more density, virtuosity, technical demand, and drama. And now, look at Bruckner's Symphony 7 that was written in 1883. The score looks clean, transparent, almost simple compared to the Mahler. It resembles the Beethoven example in many ways, but without the chorus. These examples are proof that Bruckner's inspiration came from the past, drawing from his memories of the sounds of Gothic cathedrals in northern Austria, and modeling his music after the likes of Beethoven, Mozart, and Haydn. As established by his predecessors, most of his symphonies follow the fast, slow, scherzo, fast format. Furthermore, his first themes, like Beethoven's, have a common goal of setting the mood and anticipating the drama that was to follow. And these themes often come back at the very end, just like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. His slow movements are dirge-like, all very slow, but they put me in a spiritual, almost transcendental mood. His scherzos, which is an Italian word meaning joke that was also invented by Beethoven, are rhythmic, bold, and dance-like. And his final movements are somehow related to his first movements, and they all end either tragically or triumphantly. Musicians are drawn to his music by the nature of the magnificent organ-like sounds he created, and frankly, are lured by the challenges these pieces offer. These symphonies require tremendous maturity, concentration, and stamina for all performers. The sheer length and depth of these works are very taxing. But while this draws musicians to his music, they are the same factors that make them taxing to most modern audiences. In fact, for the average listener, the time it takes to listen to even the shortest of Bruckner's symphonies can feel longer than it actually is, due to the repetitive nature of his style. Imagine watching a Shakespeare play, then thinking about its pace and attention it requires. Now compare that to the demands on the audience of your average sitcom or action movie. It was nearly impossible for Bruckner to express himself briefly. Consequently, Bruckner remains less played and less popular than his contemporaries. In fact, the first live performance I heard of a Bruckner symphony wasn't until college. It was the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro Giunta, his most popular, Symphony No. 4. The unbelievable CSO brass section played this piece so impressively that it sounded like it was actually written for them. I have yet to meet a brass player that didn't love playing the symphonies of Anton Bruckner. After the concert, I asked Schulte about Bruckner. His advice to me was to study and listen to his music, but not conduct one note of it until I was 50 years old. He asked me to picture a large Gothic cathedral that had legs. Picture it moving very slowly along the ground for a very long time, glacier-esque. When it stops and takes root, it becomes the most impressive of all monuments, and it continues to impress all those that enter it for centuries that follow. That's Bruckner, said Sir George. In summary, I found that his 4th, 7th, 8th, and 9th symphonies had the most appeal to me. If you would like to sample some of his music, I suggest the scherzo movement of his 4th symphony, the finale of his 8th symphony, or the last movement of his 9th. Visit our website for my suggested listening links. You can listen right on the webpage after watching this video. These are examples of Bruckner at his finest, and remember, be ready for the extreme architectural expansiveness and the glacier-like cathedral with legs. I hope by now you've received information about next season's series of concerts. It's a season we're calling Beethoven 250. We plan to celebrate his 250th birthday throughout the entire season with performances of his music, as well as some composers that he influenced. I thought it would be appropriate for my next video to be about the great master and his music. Stay safe and healthy, and I look forward to seeing you online in the DMSO at Home listening room.